There is a sentence in the Quran so short that most people read past it without stopping. 4 words. And yet, if you actually understood what those 4 words meant, you would never worry about your life the same way again. The sentence is this: the pen has dried, and what was written has been written. That's it. That's the whole law. And today I'm going to show you why almost everyone who hears that verse gets it completely backwards, why they think it means nothing you do matters, when it actually means the exact opposite, that you are, right now in this very moment, the most powerful instrument in the entire universe. You are the pen, Allah is the writer. And once you understand how ink actually flows from a writer's hand onto paper, you will understand why your anxiety, your bitterness, your obsession with control, your fear of the future, all of it is built on a misunderstanding of how this world actually works. Stay with me until the end, because the last part of this video is going to answer the one question that keeps you up at night. If everything is already written, then why does it feel like I'm the one writing it? Let's start with the image itself, because it's not a poetic accident. Allah did not compare himself to a painter or a sculptor or an architect. He used the image of a writer and a pen. And that choice is deliberate because writing is the one form of creation where 2 things are true at the same time. And they seem to contradict each other, but they don't. A writer decides the story completely. Every word, every twist, every ending. But the pen still moves. The pen still touches the paper. The pen still makes the mark. If you only looked at the pen, you'd think the pen was writing the story. If you only looked at the writer, you'd forget the pen exists at all. The truth is neither. The truth is that the story only becomes real, only becomes visible, only becomes written through the meeting of the 2. That is the entire relationship between you and your creator. Your choices, your effort, your struggle, your prayer, your patience, these are the pen touching the page. And the fact that the ending was already known to the writer before the pen ever moved does not make the pen's motion pointless. It makes the pen's motion the very method by which the ending arrives. Now here's where most people get stuck, and I want to be honest about this, because pretending this idea is simple would be lying to you. If Allah already knows what I'm going to do tomorrow, already wrote it down before I was born, then what exactly am I choosing? Isn't the story already finished? And this question has haunted thinkers for over 1,000 years. Not because the Quran is vague about it, but because our minds are built to think in only one direction of time. We assume that if something is known in advance, it must be forced in advance. But knowledge and force are not the same thing. Let me give you an example that has nothing to do with religion at all, just so you can feel the difference in your own mind before we bring Allah back into it. Imagine you know your friend extremely well. You've known him for 20 years. He is a creature of habit, kind, hot-tempered, generous, and stubborn in exactly the same 3 ways every single time. Tonight, someone is going to insult his mother in front of him. You know, with total certainty, exactly what he is going to do. He is going to stand up, say one sharp sentence, and walk out of the room. You know this before it happens. Does your knowledge cause his reaction? Of course not. He is going to be the one standing up. He is going to be the one choosing the words. He is going to be the one who decides to walk rather than throw a punch. Your knowing it in advance changes nothing about the fact that the action is entirely his. Now take that example and multiply it by infinity. Allah's knowledge is not a guess based on 20 years of watching a friend. It is total, complete, and outside of time altogether. He does not watch the story unfold the way we do, scene by scene. He knows the whole book, beginning and end, in a single act of knowing, because he is not trapped inside the pages the way we are. But that total knowledge doesn't erase your hand from the page. It's actually the only reason your hand is on the page in the first place. Because a real author has to know the character before the character can act consistently within the story at all. This is the part that changes everything once it clicks. You've probably heard people say everything is written as an excuse. They say it when they don't want to pray, when they don't want to work, when they don't want to try. They say, if Allah wanted me to succeed, He would have written it that way, so why bother? And this sounds religious. It sounds humble, even. But it is actually one of the laziest, most self-deceiving traps a human mind can fall into, because it uses the truth of destiny to justify the abandonment of the pen. Think about what that actually means. If a writer decides the ending of a story is that the hero saves the village, the writer doesn't skip 50 pages and just write, the village is saved. The writer writes the hero waking up early. The writer writes the hero training. The writer writes the hero failing twice and trying a 3rd time. The ending was decided, yes, but the ending arrives precisely through the details, through the struggle, through the pen actually moving across every single page in between. You cannot get to a written ending by refusing to write. The destination and the road are not 2 separate things fighting each other. The road is how the destination is reached. When the Quran says the pen has dried, it is not telling you to put the pen down. It is telling you that the writer already knows the whole story, so you no longer need to be terrified of the outcome. You only need to focus on writing your line beautifully. And this is where I want you to notice something remarkable about how the Quran talks about effort, because it never once tells people to stop trying because things are already decided. Never, not a single verse. Instead, over and over, it tells people to strive, to plan, to prepare, to seek, to knock on doors, as if the future depended entirely on them. There's a phrase used again and again that a person will only get what he strives for. And that phrase sits right next to the idea that nothing befalls anyone except what has already been written for them. Two ideas, side by side, seemingly opposite, and the Quran refuses to resolve the tension by picking one side. Why? Because both are true at once, and only a mind that insists on flattening reality into a single dimension finds this confusing. Water is wet and water is transparent. These aren't contradictions. They're just two true descriptions of the same thing seen from two different angles. Your effort is real and it matters. Allah's knowledge is complete and it doesn't change. Both. At the same time, always. Let me take you somewhere specific because abstract philosophy is easy to nod along to and then forget the moment the video ends. I want you to think about a moment in your life where you made a decision under pressure. A job you almost didn't apply for, a conversation you almost didn't have, a flight you almost missed, a person you almost didn't message back. In that moment, did it feel scripted? Or did it feel like your hands were shaking, your heart was pounding, and you were genuinely deciding right there, in real time, which way to go? It felt real because it was real. The pen was moving. The ink was wet. You didn't experience destiny as a chain around your ankle. You experienced it as a doorway you walked through with your own 2 feet. And here is the strange, beautiful secret hidden inside that memory. The fact that it was already written and the fact that it felt entirely yours are not two competing explanations of what happened. They are the same event, described from two different vantage points. One from inside the story, which is where you live, and one from outside the story, which is where only the writer stands. This is why the pen is such a perfect symbol, and I want you to sit with this image for a second. A pen has no anxiety about what it's going to write next. It doesn't sit there panicking about whether the sentence will come out right. It doesn't try to control the hand that holds it. It simply stays sharpened, stays full of ink, and lets itself be used. Now think about how differently you live your life. You spend hours, sometimes entire years, trying to grip the hand that's holding you. You want to see the whole page before it's written. You want guarantees before you're willing to move. You treat uncertainty about tomorrow as if it's evidence that no one is writing the story at all, when uncertainty about tomorrow is actually the most basic requirement of being a character inside a story rather than the author standing outside of it. Of course you can't see the next page. You're not supposed to. The pen never sees the page before it touches it. Only the hand holding the pen can see that far ahead. So what does it actually look like to live as the pen instead of fighting to be the writer? It looks like showing up fully to the line you're on right now, instead of leaking all your energy into worrying about lines that haven't been written yet. Most people are exhausted not because life is hard, which it is, but because they are trying to write 2, 3, 10 lines at once, replaying yesterday's mistake while simultaneously rehearsing tomorrow's disaster while somehow also trying to live today. A pen can only touch one point on the page at a time. That's not a limitation. That's mercy. You were never asked to write the whole book in a single moment. You were only ever asked to make good contact with the page right now, in this sentence, in this hour, in this decision in front of you. Let the next line worry about itself when it arrives, because it will arrive already prepared for by a writer who has never once been surprised by a plot twist. There's a companion of the Prophet, peace be upon him, who once asked essentially this exact question: if everything is already predetermined, why do we even act? And the answer he received didn't come as a philosophy lecture. It came as a practical instruction. He was told, act, for everyone is made easy toward what he was created for. Sit with how practical that answer is. Not, don't worry about it, it's a mystery. Not, stop asking questions. Just act. The proof of destiny isn't found by staring backward, trying to decode what was written before you were born. The proof of destiny is found by moving forward and discovering that certain paths open up under your feet with a strange kind of ease, almost as if they were cleared for you in advance, while other paths, no matter how hard you force them, keep closing no matter what you do. That ease and that resistance are not random. They are the terrain of a story already outlined, responding to the pen as it moves across it. I think this is actually the deepest comfort hidden inside this this entire law, and it's the part I most want you to walk away with today. If the ending is already written, and the writer is the single most merciful being in existence, then you no longer need to carry the crushing weight of trying to control an outcome that was never yours to control in the first place. Think about how much of your suffering, really sit with this, comes not from what has actually happened to you, but from your own desperate grip on how you demanded things should have gone. You didn't get the job, and your mind screams that this shouldn't have happened. You lost the relationship, and some part of you insists the story went wrong. But what if nothing went wrong? What if the pen simply reached a page you didn't expect, in a story whose ending you have not yet reached, being written by a writer whose wisdom does not require your approval to be trustworthy? This isn't a call to passivity, it's the opposite. It's a release valve, so that all the energy you were burning on trying to grip the outcome can now be poured entirely into the quality of your effort, the sincerity of your prayer, the honesty of your intention, the only parts of the page that were ever actually placed in your hand to begin with. There's something else worth noticing, something almost hidden in plain sight. The Quran doesn't just say the pen wrote things down once and then vanished. It describes a writer who is constantly, actively involved, sustaining, responding, answering, changing the details of a life in response to prayer, in response to charity, in response to the quality of a person's relationship with him. There's a well-known statement that nothing repels destiny except supplication. Think about how radical that idea actually is. If the future were a locked, cold, mechanical sequence with no responsiveness in it, prayer would be pointless noise. But the Quran does not describe a writer who set the story in motion and walked away. It describes a writer who is still holding the pen, still listening, still capable of shifting the very story he already knows completely, in response to the sincerity of the character living inside it. Your dua is not you trying to override the writer's decision. Your dua is one of the very tools the writer already planned to use to write the outcome you're asking for. When you raise your hands, you are not stepping outside the story to argue with the author. You are, in that very moment, part of how the next page gets written. So let's bring this all the way back down to your actual life, right now, today, because none of this means anything if it stays in the realm of theory. You are worried about something. Everyone watching this is worried about something. Money, a relationship, a diagnosis, a decision you can't make, a future you can't see. And the temptation, when you're anxious, is to try to become the writer yourself, to grip the pen so tightly that your knuckles turn white, trying to force the next 10 pages into existence through sheer panic and control. But panic was never given to the pen. Panic isn't even a tool that works, because the pen doesn't decide what the next page holds. The pen only decides how faithfully, how sincerely, how beautifully it touches the page it's on right now. Your job was never to know the ending. Your job was never even to guarantee the outcome. Your job is to show up, to try, to pray, to be honest, to keep moving even when you can't see 3 steps ahead, and to trust that the same hand that has already written the ending is the hand currently holding you. There's a kind of person who hears all of this and becomes still. Not lazy, still in the way a pen becomes still when it trusts the hand holding it and stops trying to steer. This person still works hard, still makes plans, still shows up early and prepares thoroughly. But something underneath all of that activity has changed. The frantic grip is gone. The exhausting need to control every outcome is gone. What replaces it is something the Quran calls Tawakkul. Not the absence of effort, but the presence of trust sitting quietly underneath effort, so that when the outcome doesn't go the way you hoped, you're not shattered, because you were never actually carrying the weight of writing the ending. You were only ever responsible for the ink, the pressure, the sincerity of your line. The rest belonged from the very beginning to someone whose handwriting has never once made a mistake. So here is what I want you to actually do with this, starting today. Not as an abstract idea you nod at and forget by tomorrow morning. The next time you feel that familiar tightening in your chest, that urge to control a future you cannot see, I want you to say one sentence to yourself quietly, like a kind of anchor. I am the pen. He is the writer. Let your grip loosen right there. Not because you stop caring, not because you stop trying, but because you finally understand what your actual job has always been. Write your line with everything you have. Let him hold the page. And trust completely that the hand moving you has already seen the ending. And the ending written by that hand was never going to be anything less than good.